Now to a group of Australians trying to help some of the world's most vulnerable children. Every day, more than 3,000 children around the world are sold into slavery and the sex trade. The Grey Man organisation is at the forefront of the fight against child trafficking, a battle that's being waged one child at a time. Josh Bavis has more.
These two men look like suburban dads. They are, but they're also crime fighters in some of the darkest parts in Asia.
It's that old thing about how do you eat an elephant, you know, one little bit at a time.
John Curtis and Russell Hawksford are behind Operation Grey Man. Their trained operatives go to Thailand posing as pedophiles to weed out child traffickers and tip off local police.
But I have heard of children being sold for $2. So that kind of surprises me, you know, how cheap a human life can be.
They've saved 114 women and children from the sex trade and prevented about 500 more from being trafficked. Their first girl was saved in 2007.
She gave me a small wave and that was it, you know, but for me that was enough. But the reality is that, you know, you don't get any thanks in this business because especially nowadays, the police will come in with us and they will, social workers will take the young girls and they won't even know. Grey Man will never be mentioned. If it hadn't been for us, she would have been in prostitution now, but it never happened because we were there.
But the deeper they go into these seedy back streets, the more children they're finding who urgently need to be rescued. Their latest recruit is not a former commando like John Curtis, but she is one of the most powerful women in Queensland.
These big macho men, many of them ex-SAS, ex-police officers, doing this wonderful work. They may not know it, but in my eyes, what they're doing is working as feminists.
Justice Margaret McMurdo is now taking the message of Grey Man to the nation as the charity's patron, and she's quite proud of them.
Improving the rights of women isn't just a women's issue, it's a community issue, a national issue. Improving the human rights of women is improving the lives of everybody in the community.
To start something like the Grey Man is quite daunting, really is. We've had quite a few people that have wanted to do something similar and have decided to join forces with us because of the bureaucracy and some of it quite necessary, given that people are donating funds.
What we're doing up there is rescue, education and prevention.
After humble beginnings in a Brisbane lounge room, the group now has chapters in every state. While many people have volunteered to join Grey Man, there's a strict selection criteria.
People tend to think that, you know, we're taking people off the street and just dumping them in Thailand to do these rescues, but it's not the case. The people have usually got either police or military backgrounds. They go through a selection process now, so we don't accept everyone that comes along. And the selection process involves a lot of different scenarios, fitness tests, psychological testing. It's quite involved. I doubt that there's any other NGO in the world that does as much testing as we do to, one, weed out potential cowboys, and two, to make sure we get the best people.
Grey Man now has more than a dozen trained men ready for undercover assignments, and they're still looking for more.
It's very confronting for the people who work in it, and we've become a little bit hardened to it, but very confronting for everybody, particularly the guys that do the rescue work, because you know, they're mostly family guys that have their own kids and have got an involvement either in police or background in military, and you know, it affects them as much as anyone else.
But it's not just about the immediate danger and the covert rescues. The organisation also works to provide children with a future.
They ensure that they're fed, importantly educated, they get counselling and medical services and are trained so that they do have an alternative life.
It's a hard slog doing what we do, and we pretty much keep our nose to the grind occasionally you have to remember that we have been very successful, remind ourselves how many children that we have rescued and lives that we've changed.
Josh Bavis reporting.